Let's say I am a very successful agent. I'm ready to form my own team, and I need to sign a team agreement with somebody who wants to be my team member. So by definition, I need one member and myself to form a team. The team agreement is made between the following parties. Team leader, if I'm a team member, if I'm the team leader, then I will put my name here. Let's say we have Jean Riley. I think she's ready for a team. Okay, so I'll put Jean Riley's license number here, whatever her phone license number is. Okay, and then let's say she has Iris Wu as a team member, and we have Iris phone this EBRE number here. Okay, and this is Iris BRE number. It says the team consists of TL and TM and may include other team members. All licensed as salespersons or broker associates in California under the broker identified in paragraph 15. At TL's discretion and broker's consent, new team members may be added to, and existing team members may be removed from the team. So you would sign a separate team agreement with every team member that you have. So if you are a team lead and you have 5 team members, you will have 5 separate team agreements with separately done with each team member. The first paragraph, you will have a commencement date for that relationship, and if you created that relationship today, so today will be the commencement date. Expiration date. You can set up a team agreement that has an expiration date that is fixed, or there is no fixed expiration date. You see B and C, it says expiration date for B, and then C, it says termination, either or. If you choose to have an expiration date, for example, you want to set up it says agreement shall continue uninterrupted until terminated by either party. If you do not do anything, it doesn't have a fixed expiration date. As soon as you want to terminate, you can terminate it at any time. So the default assumes no expiration date. However, you can also set up a team agreement that has an expiration date. So you can set up 12 months, 6 months, 24 months, whatever. Okay? Now, if there is an expiration date, it says this agreement shall terminate 12 months, assuming I pick 12 months, as the team agreement term. The agreement shall terminate 12 months from the commencement date or on a specified date or earlier if terminated by either party as specified below. So in other words, you can set up a fixed expiration date, or you can set up a fixed expiration date which may be terminated by either party before the expiration date, provided you give the appropriate notice. In the absence of written agreement by either party, this agreement shall continue for successive periods of equal duration, or this agreement shall automatically terminate at the end of the fixed term. So you can set it up in a way that it automatically renews upon the maturity date, or you can set it up in a way that it automatically terminates upon the expiration date. However you want to do it, that's totally up to you. Between you, if you are the team lead, and the team member. As far as written notice is concerned, it says whether ongoing or fixed term, either party may terminate this agreement by giving at least 30 days written notice to the other. This is the default notice that either side has to give to the other, whether ongoing or fixed term. So in other words, even with the fixed term, either party may terminate this agreement by giving at least 30 days written notice to the other. Okay, so if you don't like the team lead that you're working with, you can tell him I'm terminating this agreement by giving a 30-day notice. Okay? Licensing, both TL and TM must remain licensed in California during the term of this agreement, regardless of the duration of the agreement as specified in 1B above. This agreement shall terminate immediately if the California real estate license of either TL or TM is revoked, suspended, or forfeited. So if either the team member or team lead lost their license or had their license revoked or suspended, the agreement is terminated. Broker affiliation. This agreement shall terminate immediately if either TL or TM no longer conducts license activity through broker. Let's say the TL left the broker or the TM left the broker. This agreement is terminated. For cause, TL may immediately terminate this agreement at TL's sole discretion if TM engages in activity which harms the reputation of the team or exposes the team or any of its members to legal, financial, or regulatory risk. Now, even in some situation when the TM has conducted activity that is harmful to the team, the TL, the team leader, may terminate this agreement as well. You can also set the scope of the team agreement such that if there are certain transactions you do not want it applied to the team, you can exclude it from the team agreement. Such that, for example, a team member may want to exclude all of the family members' transactions or all of the team members' own transaction from the team agreement. That can be done through the team agreement. You can do it by simply checking this box because it says everything is covered except the following. So if you have your own transaction that you don't want covered under the team agreement, you can check your box right here, your own property, or any of your family members that are doing transactions with you, you want it excluded from the team agreement, you can do that as well. That's something that can be negotiated. Or there are any other persons or entities who could be potential customers of yours that you want it excluded under the team agreement, you can exclude it from the team agreement. That's totally up to you, okay? How many boxes you check is totally up to you and your team lead if you are a team member. And you can also apply the team agreement to only certain type of transaction. Say, for example, you may want to apply the team agreement to just residential and you want to exclude commercial. That's totally up to you. Or you may want to apply the team agreement to commercial and not to residential. That's up to you as well. All of these have to be negotiated and spelled out in the team agreement. Because you know why? Because when I cut the commission check, I need to know how to cut the commission check. I cut the commission check based on the team agreement that you have with your team lead, if you are a team member. Okay. All right. B. All license activity conducted by TM other than that accepted in 2A or as separately agreed to in writing shall be conducted through the team and under the license and supervision of broker. If you decide to form a team, if there is a team and you want to be part of that team, you have to conduct all your activities throughout that team. Using that team, unless that activity is excluded from your team agreement. Okay? You cannot say, well, today I like it this way, tomorrow I like it the other way. Everything is driven by the agreement. Because I cut the commission check based on the agreement. Okay? Number 3, nothing in this agreement shall alter TL or TM's relationship or status with broker. If any provision in this agreement conflicts with an agreement with broker or broker policy, the broker agreement or policy shall supersede. What this means is you cannot sign an agreement with a team lead, if you're a member, between yourselves to do something that is inconsistent with the ICA, the independent contractor agreement that you have with your broker. Each agent has an ICA with the broker. Whatever that you receive from your team agreement is subject to the ICA. Now, let's say you're a team member. You have a team agreement with the team lead where you're going to split certain transaction 50-50. Whatever commission that you get from that deal is subject to your ICA with your broker, whatever your ICA says. Okay, your ICA may say you're on a 75-25 split. Let's say, for example, it's a $10,000 deal. Your team agreement says you split it 50-50 with the team lead, and the team lead gets 50%, you get 50%. So you each are going to get $5,000. Of that $5,000 that you each get, that would be subject to the ICA that you have with the broker. Okay? So your team lead and you may have different ICA terms with the broker. So you don't need to know what ICA he has with Centermac. And he doesn't need to know what ICA you have with Centermac. How you're going to split it is based on your team agreement. Okay? Pre-existing client relationships. Now, if you want to be part of a team and you want certain pre-existing clients excluded from the team agreement, you have the ability to do that through the team agreement. Say, for example, you just came over from another company. You have some existing client relationship that you don't want it to be part of the team agreement, you can exclude it. And this is done through number 4. Okay? Now, if you're going to exclude certain client relationship from your team agreement, you have to supply a list of those clients. And that list would have to be attached to your team agreement. Okay? Say, for example, 4A, if you check 4A, it says attached is a list of all clients that have a relationship with TM prior to the commencement date. And you want them excluded from the team. That's fine too. You can go ahead and do that. Okay? But that's totally up to you. All right? That's something that you have to negotiate with the team lead. B, both TL and TM agrees that this list, if any, represents the complete identification of any pre-existing clients brought into the team for all purposes of this agreement. Compensation, you negotiate the compensation however you want to negotiate it. There are basically 3 types Three possible different kinds of compensation scheme. Number one, it says for all covered transactions generated or assigned by TL. When you are in a team, oftentimes it's the team lead who finds you the opportunities. Sometimes you find the opportunities for the team as a member. So those are the two possible situations, and you may have two different split. Say, for example, if it's the first situation, opportunity came from the team lead, the team may want a higher split, 60. Okay, let's say. All right. It's outside. Can somebody tell her that? Okay. And then the member could have 40% because the lead found the team the opportunity. So the lead deserves a higher split, correct? Now sometimes it's the member that finds the opportunity, okay? Now you can express it in terms of dollar or percentages because it says or. And then it says $1 to TM and the balance to TL. Because sometimes there are some team lead that offers a fixed amount because it depends on the job responsibilities of the team member. A team lead may say, all right, for each transaction for each opportunity that I find, I pay you a flat fee. Let's say 5,000. Okay, whatever, however you want to negotiate, fine, but make sure that you decide how you want to do it. Okay. Now, let's say if the opportunity is actually generated by the member. In this case, the member may decide the member wants a greater split. So the member may say 40% to team lead and 60% to team member. Or it could be expressed in terms of a fixed amount to the team lead or to the team member, however you want to negotiate, okay? And that's totally up to you. Okay, I'm just giving you some examples. All right? Okay, now next. And then there may be a situation where you just want to kind of be different. If that's the case, you check the last box. You check B per attached addendum. Sometimes you have unique situation. If that's the case, you just check B, okay? Broker instructions. Both TL and TM hereby instruct broker to pay them according to this agreement. Both TL and TM agree that any distribution of payments will not be used to evade legal obligations of either. What that means is that no matter what the distribution is, okay, you each have your own legal obligations, both toward your broker and also toward your the general public. Both TL and TM acknowledge that brokers shall have the right, but not the obligation, to hold total compensation if there's a dispute between them. Now, if you should not have any disputes as far as compensation because everything is in writing. However, if you have a dispute, then you're each telling me that the other person should receive a different amount. Then we got a dispute. That has to be resolved before I cut the check. Then you may wind up having your compensation withheld until you resolve your compensation. Most likely this is not going to happen if you have this thing in writing. There's no reason for it to happen when you have this thing in writing. Okay? Compensation means the dollar amount remaining from total gross compensation due to broker after broker deducts franchise and other broker fees, if any. Since we are not a franchise, you do not have any franchise fees. However, there may be certain situations where you have to pay your E&O, as we described before. Once you reach your commission cap, when you do the next transaction, and whether you're a member or you are a team lead, you each may have your own commission cap with Centermac. Say, for example, the TL may have reached his cap and the TM have not, correct? Now we got a problem because the TL now has to pay the 150, correct? And the TL does not have to pay the 150. Each person would have to pay their respective E&O to the broker. Let's say, for example, both the TL and the TM has reached their maximum. They have reached their commission cap. And the total transaction is, you got one transaction. Do you pay 150 or you pay $75 each? Okay. Now remember, in every single transaction, when you work as a team, we got two licensees that are involved here. You each may have your own separate exposure for lawsuits. When somebody sued, they could sue both team members, or they could sue one and not sue the other. So you still have to pay your own respective individual deductible, okay? Even if the other person, let's say, for example, you both reach your commission cap, okay? You still have to each contribute $150 to your E&O, okay? Now, let's say, for example, if one person has reached the cap, the other has not. The person that has reached the cap would have no obligation to pay their E&O, that E&O yet. You have no obligation to pay E&O until you have reached the cap, because once you reach 100%, I don't have any company dollar from which to account for the insurance premium. That's why I have to charge you the $150 for the insurance premium once you hit the cap, okay? All right, now let's talk about expenses. TL and TM agree that expenses for covered transactions should be paid through TL and allocated as follows. By default, the team leader pays the expenses. So when you decide what split you're going to give your team member, you have to take into account who's paying for expenses. It says here, TL shall pay for all transaction and marketing expenses. So TL is the one paying it. TM doesn't pay. TM shall obtain the consent of TL before incurring any expense. If TM does not obtain consent, TL shall have the right to reject any expense, and TM shall be solely responsible for payment. So if the team lead is going to be responsible for our expenses, so if the team member wants to incur certain expense, that team member needs the team lead's consent, or else the team lead is not responsible for that expense. That is the default provision. However, that can be changed. You see number 2, it says TL and TM agree except as otherwise specified to split the transaction and marketing expenses using the same ratio as that specified for compensation in paragraph 5. So they may say, all right, 60-40 split. It costs $1,000 for the flyer. The TL pays $600. TM pays $400. That is option number 2. But that's totally up to you guys how you want to negotiate it. Okay. Usually the TL is in a better position to pay for expenses. They are usually more successful than the TM. The TM usually is in a worse position to pay expenses because they are relatively new in the business. But there may be some team members who have been who's been in the business for many years, but they don't want to be listing agent, for example. They just want to be showing agent. In that case, experience has nothing to do with whether you're going to split expenses or not. Okay, it's just a personal choice. Some people just don't want to be listing agent, but that's fine. Well, that's totally up to you. Although I do not recommend that you become selling agent your entire career, because that would be a bad decision. But that's totally personal choice. Okay. And then it says here, if TM does not obtain consent, TL shall have the right to reject any expense, and TM shall be solely responsible for payment. Same as number 1. Or you can choose number 3 and have your own specifications. How you negotiate is totally up to you. Then it says broker shall not be responsible for the cost of obtaining, maintaining, and keeping current that licensees let's see here, real estate license, MLS fees, AOR fees, license charges. Okay, that's understood. You know, you pay your own license fees, you pay your own AOR fees, you pay your own MLS fees. Okay, that's your own expense. Transaction coordinator. Now, if you don't know what a transaction coordinator is, that is a person who's going to go through your file and go through the checklist and see what documents you're missing and what signatures or initials you're missing. If you use such a person, then we have to talk about it. If TL currently makes use of or thereafter hires the services of an unlicensed or licensed transaction coordinator or personal assistant, not as part of the team, then TL shall have a written agreement with the TC, such as car form personal assistant contract. Payment to the TC shall be in the same proportion as other expenses under paragraph 6A. So in case there's a TC, then paragraph E applies. Now, if you have a team, the law requires that you have a team name. If you don't know how to name a team must have the last name of one or more of the team members. Usually, it will have a minimum, the last name of the team lead. Let's say, for example, we have Jean Riley, who's going to form her own team. It may say the Jim Riley team, okay? Or it could say, it could have 2 or more people. It could have the Riley and someone else's team, but you need at least one last name, okay? You can have both the first name and the last name, but it needs, at a minimum, the last name for a team. Usually, they pick the team lead's last name, but it doesn't have to be the team lead's last name. It can be any of the team members' last name, even if the team lead's name is not on the team name. It's still a legal name, okay? Team name is considered a team name for purpose California Department of Real Estate and complies with law regulation. Team name, if team name is already in use by TL or TM or other team member, no team name, team name is considered a team name for purpose of California Department of Real Estate and complies with all laws and regulations issued by DRE. Team name is already in use by TL, TM, or other team member, or no team name is in use prior to the agreement. No other team name will be used without the written consent of TL. So if a team name has been used by the TL, then you cannot use any other team name. Okay. All advertising and marketing under the team name shall comply with applicable laws. No termination of this agreement, or upon termination of this agreement, only TL or TM shall have the right to continue to use the team name. Where you have a team name is a fictitious business name. There's a difference between a team name that is not a fictitious business name and a team name that is fictitious business name. If a team name is already a fictitious business name, you use the fictitious business name. But if you have a team name that is not a fictitious name, then you have to meet the legal requirements of a team name, okay? Now, leads. All leads and clients received and obtained during term of this agreement shall belong to the TL. Leads generated by TL shall be provided to team members in a fair manner determined by TL in furtherance of team business. On a rotating basis or other manner. So if you're a team lead, you get a lot of leads, you want to distribute your leads to the team members, you can decide how you want to do this. You can rotate it, or then you decide how you want to do this, okay? Leads generated by TM shall be provided to TM if TM is authorized to engage in the activity required for that lead. So in other words, TM can generate their own leads. The rest, confidentiality, trade secrets, and non-disclosures. This one makes sure that certain databases that are created within the team are not to be disclosed without the team lead's consent. Team accounts, the team and TL utilizes the Zipform team account. TM agrees to use this account for all covered transactions. TM understands and agrees that TL and other members of the team may access and use the account. You may or may not have a team account. If you have a team account is like a bank account. If there's a team account, you may want to check this box right here. If there is none, don't worry about it. Names on transactions and documents. For any transaction or agreement where TM is named as licensee, TM shall or shall not name TL as an additional licensee on the transaction or agreement and use an additional agent acknowledgement. If only TL is named, then no additional agent acknowledgement is required. So if the transaction is in the TL's name, you do not need any additional forms. But if the transaction is in the TM's name, you may need to use certain transaction form. Whether you need to or you don't have to is determined by which box you check, okay? And then here you got a box that says TM agrees to name TL as a licensee for any transaction or agreement. Or TM shall or may name TM as additional licensee on a transaction or agreement and use an additional agent acknowledgement. What that means is, if only the team lead's name is used, you do not need an additional agent acknowledgement. But if the TM's name, the team member's name is used in the offer, for example, then you will need the additional agent acknowledgement. Compensation and other rights and obligations upon termination. Pending transaction or business. Upon termination of this agreement, the TM shall deliver all documents and files under this agreement to TL for covered transactions resulting from a then existing open escrow or referral fee agreement or contract for which escrow has not yet opened or listing or buyer representation agreement. TL shall make arrangements with another team member to perform the required work, him or herself. The licensee shall make arrangements with another team member to perform the required. What am I reading? The licensee performing the work shall be reasonably compensated for completing work on those assignments, on those transactions or agreements, and such reasonable compensation shall be deducted from TM's share of compensation. This is talking about organizing the file. So if the work is done by a TC, you do not need to talk about this arrangement. If the work is not done by a TC, you have to decide between the TL and the TM. Who's responsible for this? I would imagine that if you're a team lead, there are 4 members, right? How do you decide who's going to take care of the paperwork? If you have a TC taking care of that, then there are no issues about which team member is going to do this. But if you don't have a TC, you have to decide which team member is going to do the task. And should that team member be compensated more if that team member is doing certain tasks? So that's something that the team lead will have to decide. Future transactions with pre-existing clients. You also need to talk about when you can engage in future transactions with pre-existing client. It says here a future transaction means any transaction involving either TL or TM and any pre-existing client, where a contract is entered into by that client after the date of termination of this agreement. If after the termination of this agreement, the client chooses to work with the TM, who identify the pre-existing client pursuant to paragraph 4, the TL shall not be entitled to any compensation from the future transaction. Say, for example, a TM is working with a pre-existing client. Once they finish their team agreement, then the TM can work with this pre-existing client without going through the TL. And TL is not entitled to any additional compensation from the future transaction. If after the termination of this agreement, the pre-existing client chooses to work with the TL or team, then for any future transaction entered into by the pre-existing client with the TL or other team member within 12 months from the date of termination, the TM who identified the pre-existing client shall or shall not be entitled to a referral fee. Now, there could be a situation where, you came to a team and you brought some existing clients with you, and then in these transactions that you're working in, now let's say, for example, you did not exclude the pre-existing client from the team agreement, such that now the pre-existing client becomes the client of the team. Now, in this situation, if you are the team member, unless it's spelled out clearly, you may have a dispute with the team lead after your relationship is terminated. Let's say you move to another company, and then this existing client that you brought to the team decided that they prefer to work with the team lead. Are you prepared to lose that client without any referral fees? Or do you want referral fees from the team lead if that's the situation? But that's totally up to you how you want to negotiate it. If I'm a team member, I bring in pre-existing customer to the team. I am taking the chance that this pre-existing customer may decide to go work with the team lead. If that's the case, I want to be compensated. How often you want to be compensated is totally up to you. You may get a referral fee, let's say 25% for the next 12 months. After 12 months is over. But that's totally up to you to negotiate, okay? I'm going to skip some of this that are less important, okay? Now let's go to 15. It says responsible broker. Both TL and TM conduct license activity through the following brokerage company. In this case, you'll say Centermac Realty Inc. if you're part of Centermac Realty Inc. You'll say Centermac OC if you're part of Centermac OC. And then you have the license number here. And then you have the team lead signature. And then you also have the team member signature. And then you will need the broker signature. In this case, it's most likely to be me. Okay? So that pretty much concludes our training on the team agreement.